I thought the truth would defend itself. It didn't. One message, one rumor, and suddenly my career, my friends, and my name were all gone, long before anyone checked the facts. You ever have one of those moments where everything shifts in an instant? Like 1 second you are fine, just living your life, and the next, you are the villain in somebody else's story? That was me on a Tuesday morning. I remember because it was raining and my windshield wipers were on that irritating intermittent setting. The kind where it is just enough rain to be annoying, but not enough to feel real. I pulled into work like usual, coffee in hand, nodding to Curtis at the front desk, not knowing that before lunch, half the office would be whispering about me. It started with a missing file. Just one project folder that had gone offline from the shared drive. A minor glitch, if you asked me. IT stuff happens all the time. But this one happened to belong to Miranda, my team lead, and the kind of person who alphabetized her vitamins and tracked everyone's lunch breaks like it was a sport. By noon, she had dragged me into HR. "You are the only one who had edit access," she said, arms crossed, not even looking me in the eye. "It went missing after your login time." "Explain that." I laughed at first. I mean, what else was I supposed to do? I said something like, "Come on, that can't be right." But her expression did not change. Then I realized she wasn't joking. She really thought I had done it. I said I had not touched that folder. I had been in and out of meetings all morning and never even opened that damn file. She just blinked slowly, like she was watching me fail a test she had already graded. That afternoon, they suspended my system access as a precaution. Word spread fast. You would think someone in IT had thrown the gossip into a group email blast. Suddenly, the casual nods and coffee break chats vanished. People avoided eye contact. One guy even turned around and walked the other way when he saw me coming. I figured it would blow over. Maybe some intern accidentally moved the folder, or it was just a sync error. The truth always floats up eventually, right? That is what I told myself. Truth has a way of clearing the air. But that is not what happened. By the next morning, there was this tension in the office, like everyone knew something I didn't. The folder still had not been found, and now they were saying it might have had sensitive data. Nothing classified or illegal, just confidential client stuff. Big enough that the partners were involved now. And then came the rumor. Somebody told someone that I had been in debt, that I was looking for side gigs, that I had been acting weird lately. The kind of nonsense that grows legs when nobody cares to ask you if it is true. I checked my inbox. Silence. No one asking for my side. Just a calendar update. Meeting with compliance. 3 p.m. That was the moment it hit me. I was not going to explain my way out of this. I had already been labeled. I went out for lunch that day, walked to a little diner 2 blocks down, and sat there, staring at my sandwich like it held answers. That is when I got the text from Miranda. Just one line. "HR will contact you directly. Please don't come back tomorrow." And just like that, I was out. But here is the thing. I still thought the truth would fix it. That was my biggest mistake. I stayed up that night staring at the ceiling, waiting for a call that never came. It is a weird kind of limbo, being accused of something you did not do. You keep expecting someone, anyone, to knock on your door and say, "Hey, we figured it out. Sorry for the mix-up." Like life is a sitcom, and this is just the mid-episode misunderstanding before everything resets. But no one called. Not that night. Not the next day either. Instead, I woke up to find my work email deactivated. Just a bland little message on my phone saying my credentials had been disabled. No explanation. No warning. Just a dead end. That was when it really started to sink in. How fast people vanish when you are suddenly that guy. I sent a message to Derek, one of the few people I had actually grabbed drinks with after hours. No response. I texted Sasha, who used to joke that I was the only sane person on the team. Nothing. Not even the courtesy of a thumbs-up emoji. And when I finally opened LinkedIn, just to see if anything had gone public, I saw it. A post from someone at my office. Vague, but sharp enough to hurt. "Hard lesson this week. Some people aren't who they seem. Watch your back." Over 100 likes. A few comments with that knowing tone. I wanted to reply. I typed something out. Deleted it. Typed it again. Still deleted it. Because here is what I learned real quick. Once people decide you are guilty, defending yourself only makes it worse. Every word you say sounds like an excuse. Every attempt to clear the air just adds more smoke. I started feeling it in my own chest, that panic that creeps in late at night. My rent was due in 2 weeks. I had no paycheck coming. I had worked there for 5 years. I was a decent employee, reliable, never took advantage. And yet, not one person stood up for me. Not even a single message saying, "Hey, man, this doesn't sound like you." Even my boss, James, the guy I had stayed late for more times than I could count, ghosted me. He always used to say I was his go-to, but when this hit, radio silence. You think you have built something solid, a good reputation, some trust, but the second a crack shows, everyone runs like the roof is collapsing, and you are just left there, sitting under the rubble, wondering how you became the problem. I tried calling Miranda, straight to voicemail. I thought about going to the office, just showing up, making them look me in the eye. But I knew how that would go. Security would be called. Maybe a warning filed. Maybe worse. I walked to the park instead, just sat on a bench and stared at a family playing catch in the distance. They looked happy, whole, untouched. And all I could think was, how the hell did I get here? I had done nothing wrong. But suddenly, I was toxic. And the whole world smelled it. By the end of that week, my name had turned into a warning. I found out through my cousin Matt. He works in a different department, not even on the same floor, but word travels. He called me late Friday night, real quiet like he was sharing state secrets. Said someone overheard upper management call me a liability. Said they were reviewing past projects to make sure I had not left a trail. I almost dropped my phone. A trail? There was no trail. There was nothing. But once doubt gets planted, it grows like a weed. Fast. Uncontrolled. It wraps around everything you thought was solid until even you start questioning yourself. I went back through my calendar, my notes, my saved logins. I combed through old emails like a detective in my own life. I did not even know what I was looking for. Maybe some clue that would explain why they picked me. Why Miranda turned so fast. Why no one believed me. The worst part? The silence from people I used to trust was louder than any accusation. I messaged Derek again. "Please, just tell me if you think I really did this." He left it on read. Sasha finally replied, but not with words. She sent me a thumbs up. That was it. One little floating hand that might as well have been her saying, "We're done." I tried to call HR, straight to voicemail. I left a message. Two, actually. The second one was longer. I told them I wanted to come in, that I would cooperate fully, that I had nothing to hide. No one called back. By Monday, I was locked out of my benefits portal. My health insurance, my retirement account, even my employee login, all gone. It was like I had never existed there at all. I reached out to a friend of mine from college, someone who worked at a different firm. He had always said if I ever needed help, he would vouch for me. His response came in after midnight. "Hey man, maybe lay low for a bit. It's not a good look right now." And there it was. The final nail. Once people think you are guilty, even your innocence feels like a risk they cannot afford. But here is the kicker. That night, while I was scrolling through old screenshots, I found something. A timestamp from a Slack conversation, me talking with Miranda, at the exact time she claimed I accessed the folder. It was clear as day. We were going back and forth about rescheduling a client call. I was right there, in chat, the whole time. I stared at that timestamp for what felt like an hour. My pulse picked up. For the first time in days, I felt something close to hope. This could change everything. But deep down, I already knew. It was not going to be that simple. Because truth was never the real problem. It was the story they wanted to believe. And they had already written the ending without me. So I sent the screenshot to HR. No intro. No long explanation. Just a subject line. "Please see the timestamp." Then I waited. And waited. By evening, still no reply. Not even an automated response. I ended up pacing my apartment for over an hour, going over every little thing I had done in the past month, trying to find something, anything, they might be twisting against me. Eventually, I sat down and did something I probably should have done sooner. I logged into the company's public directory and searched for Miranda's profile. Gone. Not updated. Not transferred. Just gone. That set something off in my brain. I checked her LinkedIn. New job. New title. New company. The start date? 3 days after the folder went missing. That was when the panic shifted into something colder. Not fear. Not sadness. Suspicion. I kept digging. Not like I had anything better to do. Turns out, the company she left for? They just landed a deal that sounded real familiar. Too familiar. A project identical to the one our team had been working on. The one stored in that missing folder. That was the twist. Miranda had not just accused me out of nowhere. She had set me up. I sat there in the dark, the glow of my screen lighting up a world that suddenly made too much sense. She must have pulled the file, blamed me, then used the project outline to leverage her way into a new role. Slick, efficient, cold. And I had been the perfect scapegoat. No family at the company. No close ties. Quiet. Low profile. Easy to erase. My hands were shaking, not from rage, but from something deeper. Betrayal. I thought back to all the times I stayed late to help her with meetings. All the times she called me the steady one. I believed it. I trusted her. And she torched me to get ahead. The timestamp? It would prove I was not the one who deleted the file. But it would not explain why she said I was. It would not undo the rumors. It would not bring back the people who had already looked me in the eye and decided I was guilty. Still, I had to try. I printed everything. Every message, every timestamp, every client reference. I even compiled a side-by-side comparison of our project files and the public pitch from her new company. It was all there. You did not even need to squint. I dropped it all into a folder and made my way back to the office the next day. Not to beg, not to plead, to tell the truth. But as I stood there outside the glass doors, folder in hand, I caught a glimpse of someone walking by in the lobby. It was James, my old boss. He saw me. Our eyes locked. And then he turned around and walked away. I stood outside those glass doors for a full minute, still holding the folder, still hoping James might turn around. He didn't. He disappeared down the hallway like I had never been part of his team. Like I was not the guy who once covered for him when he missed a deadline and needed someone to smooth things over with a client. Like none of it ever happened. I buzzed at the front desk. Curtis, the same guy who used to greet me every morning, looked up from his tablet. His smile faded fast. "I'm sorry, sir. You're not allowed up." That word, sir, it hit different. Formal. Distant. Like I was just another stranger. "I have documents that clear my name," I said. "It's about the folder." "Miranda, I understand," he cut in. "But I've been told not to let you in. You can leave the papers here if you want. HR will review them." I did not even know what to say. Part of me wanted to shout. Another part just wanted to curl up and vanish. Instead, I handed him the folder. He didn't even look at it. Just slid it behind the desk like junk mail. I turned and walked out, past the same elevators I had once ridden with pride. Back when I thought hard work was enough. When I thought loyalty meant something. That afternoon, I got an email. Not from HR. From legal. A cold, short message thanking me for the materials and informing me that the company had concluded its internal review. They would not be taking further action at this time. The matter was considered closed. Closed. That was it. No apology. No reinstatement. No public correction. Just a door slammed shut. I read it 3 times. Each word felt heavier than the last. I wanted to scream. To send some angry reply. To burn the whole thing down with the truth. But I didn't. Because I finally understood. It was never about whether I did it. It was about how easy I was to replace. A few days later, I checked the team page on the website. My photo was gone. My name was gone. The bio I had carefully written? Gone. They had already added someone new in my place. Some guy I had never even met. His smile looked fresh, full of hope. He had no idea what kind of ground he was standing on. I closed the browser and sat in silence. Not the peaceful kind. The heavy kind. The kind where the only thing louder than the quiet is the thought that maybe no one ever really knew me at all. And that maybe, they never cared to. It had been about 2 weeks since they closed the matter. Since then, I had barely left my apartment. My days blurred together. Early mornings that bled into restless nights. The kind of stretch where time moves, but nothing else does. Then one evening, just as I was settling into the idea that maybe this would never end, I got a message. Not a text. Not an email. A knock. It was Sasha. She stood in my hallway looking like she had not slept much either. Her jacket was half-zipped, hair pulled back like she had thrown herself together in a rush. I had not seen her since the day I got pulled into HR. She asked if she could come in. I hesitated, but then stepped aside. We sat on opposite ends of the couch like strangers, not co-workers who had once shared bad coffee and inside jokes about office politics. She looked down at her hands, fidgeted a little, then finally said it. "I think you were set up." I did not respond at first, just stared at her, waiting to see if this was some kind of joke. She continued, quieter this time. "Miranda's new company. They're using a framework we designed last quarter. I recognized the name in a client pitch that leaked last week. The structure, the milestones, it's all ours." I asked her how she knew. Apparently, one of the junior developers, Darnell, got wind of it and shared the file with her, not realizing the connection. Said he thought it looked familiar. He was right. Sasha had stayed quiet at first, unsure who to trust. But when she saw my name mentioned in the metadata of one of the original drafts, something clicked. None of it made sense, she said. You were always the one cleaning up other people's messes. You never even worked on that specific folder. So how could you be the one who deleted it? My heart was thudding in my chest, but not with relief. With something closer to rage. I asked her if she had told anyone else. She nodded. I tried, but they shut me down. Said bringing it back up would just complicate things. James basically told me to let it go. Of course he did. They had already moved on. They had filled my role, fixed the PR, sewn the wound shut, and now I was just a loose thread. I stared at the wall for a long time after she left. I should have felt vindicated. The truth was finally surfacing. But all I felt was this ache in my chest. Not sharp, just deep, like something was pulling at my insides, asking a question I already knew the answer to. Where were you when it mattered? It was not about Miranda anymore. It was about everyone else who stood by while I was buried, who looked away, who knew me, but not well enough to believe me. Sasha texted me 2 days later, said she was going to confront James. I told her not to bother. What was the point? They had already made up their minds, buried the story, covered it with silence. Trying to stir it up again would just make her a target too. But she did not reply. That afternoon, I got a call. It was from Darnell, the same junior dev Sasha mentioned, the one who found the client pitch. He sounded nervous, like he was not sure if he should even be speaking to me. Hey man, I think you should know, he said. They're talking about Sasha now, saying she's stirring up old stuff, creating tension. My stomach dropped. It was happening again. The same way they turned the spotlight on me. Now it was shifting toward her. I asked him what exactly she said to James. Apparently, she had printed out the overlapping files, walked straight into his office, and laid them on his desk. Calm, professional, no theatrics. James had not even looked at them. He told her that if she wanted to keep her job, she would focus forward, that the company had moved on, and we do not reward disruptions. Disruptions. That was the word he used to describe the truth. I thanked Darnell and hung up. I did not sleep that night. The next morning, I met Sasha at a diner near the office. She looked tired but steady, like someone who had made peace with the fallout before it even happened. They're protecting her, she said, even now, because if they admit what she did, they have to admit what they let happen to you. I nodded. It made sense. Terrible, unforgivable sense. Sasha slid a flash drive across the table. It had the files, the timestamps, the Slack logs, and the pitch deck from Miranda's new firm. Everything. I'm sending this to the client, she said. The one whose data she used. That caught me off guard. I told her that could blow things up. She said, maybe it should. I sat there in silence, watching the steam rise from my coffee, listening to the low hum of breakfast conversation around us. And for a second, I almost believed something good might come of this. But I also knew how these things worked. Big companies survive scandals. People like Miranda land on their feet. People like me get tossed aside and told to move on. I stared at the flash drive. It was all there. The proof, the betrayal, the theft. But the people who needed to see it, would they even care? I asked Sasha if she was ready for what might come next. She just smiled, not the happy kind, but the kind that says, I already lost more than they can take. The email went out 3 days later. Sasha sent the entire folder, every file, every timestamp, every bit of evidence, to the client directly. Not just any client. The one whose data Miranda had pitched under a new name at her shiny new firm. She CC'd legal, compliance, and 2 senior partners. I did not know she had done it until she called me, her voice flat but focused. It's done, she said. They know now. I sat there in my apartment, barely breathing. An hour later, my phone lit up again. This time it was James. He had not called me once since this all began. Now, suddenly, I was getting a blocked number and his voice on the other end acting like nothing had happened. Hey, listen, he started. There's been some confusion that I think we can clear up. Confusion. That word again. Their favorite trick. Call it a misunderstanding. Smooth over the betrayal like it was just some messy paperwork. I asked him what he wanted. He said the firm was revisiting the events around Miranda's departure, and they appreciated that I had brought forward valid concerns. I laughed. actually laughed out loud. He didn't like that. He shifted gears fast, asked if I might be open to coming in for a conversation, that they were prepared to discuss next steps. I asked if one of those steps included a public apology. He went silent, then said, "Let's not focus on blame. Let's focus on resolution." That told me everything. They did not want justice. They wanted damage control. An hour later, the news broke. The client, furious after realizing their proprietary data had been copied, issued a public statement. They dropped the new firm immediately and threatened legal action. Miranda's name was attached to the leak. Her LinkedIn went dark by the end of the day. For a moment, it felt like the clouds were finally breaking. Like maybe, just maybe, people were starting to ask the right questions. But here is the thing no one talks about. By the time the truth catches up, the damage is already done. I got a few messages that week. From old coworkers. Derek said, "Man, I always knew something felt off." Sasha forwarded me a Slack thread where someone had written, "We owe him an apology." Oh, not "we're sorry." Not "we were wrong." Just "oh." Like it was some unpaid bill they would never really send. And I knew, in that moment, that no matter how right the facts were now, I would always be the guy they almost fired. The guy who made things messy. The guy who was easier to cut loose than to believe. They offered me a settlement. Said it was a gesture of goodwill. Some hush money wrapped in legalese. I declined, because what they took from me was not a paycheck. It was trust. After everything came out, the confession, the files, the fallout, I thought I would feel lighter. But I didn't. I felt hollow. People started reaching out. Not to make things right. Not really. But to clean their conscience. A few messages here and there. Some long-winded explanations full of, "I wanted to say something, but," and "I never really believed it, you know." But where were they when it counted? The truth came out. But not one of them stood beside me when it was still just me in the dark. Even James tried spinning it, claiming he had concerns all along, but could not speak out without proper evidence. Said he always had my back, but had to protect the company. It was like watching people rewrite history in real time. They wanted the benefits of truth without the cost of loyalty. Sasha, she was the only one who never flinched. She lost her job, by the way. A few days after the email, they let her go due to culture misalignment. Same company that swore they valued integrity. She called me afterward, said she expected it. I offered to cover her rent if things got rough. She said no. Just wanted me to know she did it because it was right, not because she expected anything in return. That conversation meant more to me than any payout ever could. Meanwhile, my name started bouncing around again. Recruiters, industry blogs, the guy who got framed and stood his ground. I even got invited to speak at some tech ethics seminar. I declined. I was not interested in being a mascot for someone else's lesson. Because behind the headlines, behind the vindication, there was a silence that never left. My parents never asked about it. My brother sent a one-line text, "Saw your name online. Looks intense." And the friends I used to have, most never called. A few unfollowed me during the drama and just never followed back. That is the part they do not tell you about false accusations. It is not just about clearing your name. It is about realizing how fast people will leave you behind the second your story becomes inconvenient. You do not just lose your job. You lose your place, your community, your peace. And when it is finally over, when the truth comes crawling out of the wreckage, it is never loud. It is quiet. Too quiet. Like someone whispering, "Yeah, maybe we were wrong," right after burning your house down. It has been 8 months. That is how long it took for things to settle, for the headlines to stop, for people to move on. Miranda vanished from the industry. Last I heard, she was doing contract work overseas, trying to start fresh somewhere her name still means nothing. James stepped down quietly. Personal reasons. No apology ever came. Sasha found work at a nonprofit that actually values ethics. She says the pay is less, but the sleep is better. I believe her. As for me, I took the long way back. I turned down job offers, even some generous ones. I needed space. I needed to rebuild, not just my reputation, but myself. The part of me that got swallowed when everyone turned away. I started freelancing. Smaller clients. Quiet work. No teams. No politics. Just me and the code. Some days I missed the old life. The rhythm of an office. The buzz of collaboration. Even the bad coffee and fake birthday parties. But mostly, I just miss believing in people. That part of me, it did not come back. I hear from a few old coworkers every now and then. Polite messages. Surface-level check-ins. They treat me like some legend now. Man, you really went through it. They say, like I climbed Everest or survived a shipwreck. But no one says the thing I really want to hear. No one says, I should have stood up. And maybe that is what hurts the most. Not that they doubted me, but that they stayed quiet when I needed them loud. I walk through life different now. Slower. More cautious. I double-check what doors I walk through. I notice who's holding them open. And I pay real close attention to who looks away when things get uncomfortable. Because here is the hardest truth I had to learn through all this. Sometimes, the people you trust the most are not the ones who believe in you. They are just the ones who find it easiest to smile when things are good and disappear when they are not. I got my name back, but I lost something else. And no amount of evidence will ever bring it home.